Drummers against implied timekeeping, a short discussion about a drummer called or named Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. As a disclaimer, this is my opinion and my opinion only, so just bear with me. I want to discuss this guy because there's conflicting things that I have regarding his playing, and then there's unusual things of praise. I knew the Red Hot Chili Peppers as a band, not personally, before they were famous. In fact, I may have seen their first few gigs when they were put together, before they had a recording deal in Los Angeles, where I had lived for 17 years. And right away, when I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers, their first 2 or 3 gigs, Anthony, the singer, was very charismatic, and clearly Flea was coming in from a different galaxy on bass. They had a lot of energy, and this was before Dead Men Don't Kill Coyotes, so I go pretty far back. But they never really had a drummer that would stick with them. I mean, Jack Irons, this fellow played with them, and various other guys would sit in. I had never gotten the opportunity. I would have loved it. But interestingly, they kind of wandered around before they were famous, in the sense that that you would know them now with all their hits. But the reason I'm bringing his name up is for 2 reasons. One, it is a classic example of the importance of a drummer to a band. Regardless of how great the band is, or how great the songs are, and all these various truths, without a drummer, a band can get into deep shit, and they're a great example of it. So when they had a first recording deal, I think it was the EMI, smaller label, in Los Angeles, they put out the record, It Died, early MTV thing, and they were too different, too esoteric, too off the beaten path to make mainstream. And I actually watched them grow. They persevered as a group, Anthony and Flea and Infante, the guitar player, but they never really held on to a drummer that long. And it wasn't until just before Sex Magic, whatever that one is they did with American Recordings founder, the famous guy, his name escapes me now, but you all know it, Blood, Sex, Magic, whatever it is. When they were auditioning drummers, they went through everybody, and they couldn't find anyone until Chad Smith joined as a definite member of the band. And I'm bringing his name up to do this video because as good as they were without Chad previous to him, and as I mentioned, Jack Irons, but they had other drummers as well, and the show was basically what you see to this day, but they lacked a direction, in the sense that the drummer had to be very solid. He had to be funky, no question, but he had to have a special quality to him to keep the singer and the bass player and the guitarist into some sort of unit. They never had that before. Now, I was fortunate enough in 1993, 94, when they were already big. We were doing a record release party and got pushed off the party because of this other band that was playing. And clearly our manager was very upset in Los Angeles, but it was a private warehouse gig right in Hollywood. And we later found out it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers that were going to play an unannounced gig, but they allowed us to open for them because it was our record release party. And I remember it well because it was the first time I had seen them up close and personal before they were famous in their early gigs. This is now they were famous. And since we were opening for them, there were 2 other bands previous to us as well opening for them. Now the interesting thing, and I want you to know this, there was a lot of people there, maybe 700, 800 people in a place that holds 150. That's how small the gig was, small warehouse. And there were thousands of people trying to get into the venue. It was definitely a hellhole, a fire trap, if you will. Now I also remember I had left my stick bag on stage, and it was just before the Chili Peppers went on, and I could not get my stick bag. It was literally under Chad's floor tom. Now the road manager and the drum tech that was with Chad allowed me to stand behind him and wait for the gig to finish because I wanted that stick bag. It had all my sticks, all my mallets, everything was in it. But I did get to see Chad literally behind him play for the very first time. And I dismissed him previously as just another funky by numbers drummer. I remember saying that because I was already an experienced player, session guy, and did a lot of things. I never saw how Chad would stand out with the Chili Peppers. I just didn't see them, especially the music. It just never translated on the radio like it did live. Now, I watched the show from behind, and I have got to tell you, in 1994, Chad had just been in the band maybe a month, 2 months, I'm not sure how long. But I got to see him with the Chili Peppers now as a unit. And at the time, Navarro was on guitar, not Infante. He was going through a lot of problems. For those of you who may know his background, he had some issues with drugs. But Chad, I got to see him play a full 50 minutes, just under an hour, in this packed room. A lot of rock stars were there, names and famous guys. Navarro on guitar from Jane's Addiction. And I have got to tell those of you who are fans of the Chili Peppers, he knocked me out as a drummer because he was playing in a way I had not seen on the records. It didn't translate on the records like it did live, but he was playing with power and firepower, when I always talk about this way, that he made Flea and Anthony better. It was clear he was doing some wicked power riffs that I had not heard on the record. And I was literally 2 feet behind him waiting for the set to end to get my stick bag. And it was extraordinary. I want to give a hats off acknowledgement to Chad Smith, because Chad had this thing that he would play fills in a way that was just bombastically strong. Now, I had seen hundreds of bands in maybe somewhat that style. Maybe Bad Brains comes to mind, or Fugazi or something. But Chad made that band. He actually was the ingredient that the Chili Peppers were missing, and made, in my view, the Chili Peppers blossom. As great as Anthony was, as great as Flea is, they never had a drummer like Chad to really kick it in. So the point of this video, and the reason I'm even doing it, is I don't think Chad is the most creative guy. But what Chad is he made Anthony and Flea great, because he played really in the pocket. He's got good time. He's not the greatest funk player to me. There's obviously the greatest funk players, Garibaldi and these various guys you may or may not know. But he added such fire to the band. To this day, I am convinced the Chili Peppers would be nothing without him. Nothing. I don't care who they get. And I like Jack Irons as a drummer, but he didn't bring to the table anywhere near what Chad brought. He just didn't, because he was too behind on the groove and sedate as a drummer compared to Chad. So I was right there watching him, and I just want to let you know at that gig that they allowed us to open for them, that he was extraordinary. And for those of you who do not know Chad Smith, if you go on and listen to any of the records, and he was on the biggest records, all the famous songs you hear, not the previous records with EMI, Dead Men Don't Kill Coyotes. That was the title of a single they had, if you don't know the Chili Peppers. Without Chad, they would never, in my view, been the band that they were. And I want you to know that. And I saw him up close to really confirm what he was as a player, and is as a player. I have issues on some of the creative things, but it's immaterial. He was tremendous, and he deserves praise, all right? So this is my hats off to Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He made the Chili Peppers what they are, and no one really realizes that, I think. But from a drumming perspective, he is a classic example of what drummers can do to change a mediocre band and make it a great band, all right? If you have any questions regarding Chili Peppers, Chad, or anything to do with these sort of things, feel free to ask me on the comments section. And I'm on twitter.com/drummersagainst and facebook.com/drummersagainst implied timekeeping. welcome everyone who's coming over here to visit. From time to time, I just like to tell you about these things because from a historical context, I was right, in this case, behind Chad watching him play. And he, in my view, was very underrated as a player and critical to the growth and success to the Red Hot Chili Peppers because I knew them before. And then I had the opportunity to actually see them as they were big from right behind. And of course, they went on to super status, and they deserve it, all right? So I want to let you know that. If you haven't, please take the time to go through my catalog. It is very extensive, over 250 videos. And I'm teaching in the open-handed position some of just the critical things in pattern playing and forming in order for you to be more creative as a drummer. If you haven't, please subscribe because your subscription is the most important thing for me to continue, and it inspires me. So thank you always for that. So this is kind of a hats off to Chad Smith of Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I want to know what you think of it as well, okay? This is just my opinion of why a drummer is important. I think that's what I'm going to call the video because he is perfect example of the importance of a drummer to move a band from mediocrity to greatness, all right? So practice, improve your playing at all times, and help bring greatness to the musicians you're around, all right? My best to you all, and of course I've got other things coming on the technical side. Take care.